If you're struggling off the tee, then today we are with a mid-handicapper and we are at the home of PXG's Northern Fitting. We're going to see what we can put into this mid-handicapper's bag to help him hit more fairways, hit the ball longer, hit the ball straighter and lower his scores in 2025.
What do you play off, Dave?
14.
14. Okay.
Used to be less, but since World Handicap System came in, it's just gone.
Push. Just let it. So can I have a quick look at the... I mean, it's obviously put you in something a little bespoke, handy shaft-wise. Is it just set on its normal setting, is 10.5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on the PXG setting.
That is flatter, yeah. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see actually, we pop something a bit more loft in your hand, because that is the main barrier here, isn't it? It's just that initial launch. I think if the launch just starts high, the spin will go with it and the height and the control will come to it as well, so... That looked like a better hit.
Yeah.
There you go. Nearly had it, didn't it? Okay, what I'll do, if it hit a few shots there. What I'll bring up for you, because I imagine this will probably have a good representation. But yeah, what I'll bring up here, obviously, dispersion chart. We've only hit, obviously, 6 shots or so here. But you're right, obviously this left one's creeping in, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the low left one's the problem sort of shot. You've only hit 1 to the right. And obviously launch-wise, the ones you've actually launched highest have been obviously straightest.
Yeah.
So it's probably a good representation and it gives a good baseline while we move forward. The average obviously looks a little bit mean. I'd say this top one, your last one's actually one that represents probably what you class as a good quality sort of golf shot. 232 total yardage. Smash obviously really good timing wise. Still think the spin's actually
Quite low.
On the low side of things with this. And like I mentioned earlier, more backspin, more control, less side spin impact on the ball. So probably want to get that up a little bit and launch a little bit low as well. But yeah, it's just a baseline for the time being. Main thing as well, club speed's pretty good, 85 mile an hour, so you got plenty of speed there to get a good yardage out of it. I always think one that we'll refer to later as well is the bottom is standard deviation. So this isn't just how good the shot is, it's how good you are at continually doing it. So it's how much the data fluctuates. So for example, I don't know, on your carry yardage, the deviation's 11 yards. If we can reduce that to 5 yards, it means that you're going to just hit a higher percentage of fairways. There's more probability that you're going to hit it in the same area at the same distance. So I always think this bottom one is always the main like parameter of consistency. Have you seen the secret weapon at all actually?
No, I
Have
haven't.
you not seen it at all? So obviously, secret weapon is going to be a slightly smaller head profile compared to the drive you've been using. You'll see obviously we've got 4 weight ports, so we can really kind of dial it in. We can kind of display the weight ports in the plate. Obviously benefits.
So is each one a different weight?
Different weight. So a standard, you've got 2 2.5 gram weights and 2 15 gram weights in there.
Okay.
But I can actually move them around, obviously to whatever's suitable. Obviously one thing with your flight at the moment, with it being relatively low, you might find that obviously the increase in loft is enough, but if it isn't, we can actually put obviously more weight into the back of the club head and help launch. We also have the hosel placement as well, where we can crank this up to 14.5 degrees. So we've got a few different options. I think one good option as well with it, to be fair, is despite obviously the club head we've talked about, the shaft as well. So we do have multiple shaft options we can try. We can put you into obviously high launch shaft. So we can kind of through either shaft, through weight or through hosel placement, give you that launch that we're looking for.
So is the shaft the same length as a driver shaft, or is it shorter? A bit shorter, yeah.
It'll be actually in between your driver and your 3-wood. So 3-wood's typically 43, driver's 45. This will sit at 43.75.
Okay.
So it's sort of an in-between one. I did notice your driver's 45, wasn't it? So depends what you take with it. A lot of sort of drivers nowadays, the average length or the standard length is kind of 45.5. So yours is a little bit nipped back, I would say. But what we'll do to start with is we'll actually leave it in its standard settings, just for you to hit it, see what it feels like, how it sits behind the ball, and then we can make some alterations from there, if that's okay. I'll tell you what I'm going to do actually. I'm going to start you in a slightly different shaft option. What I'll do, I'm going to just, we might have to play around with this a little bit, but I'm going to pop it off just a little propped up tee. Obviously this is a club we can kind of hit off the deck as well, but I think to start us off with, we'll play it as we've just played our driver really. It's all standard settings for the time being. I've just started us in the Denali Blue shaft, so it's a mid-spin shaft.
Yeah.
Like I say, we can potentially go to a high launch option.
And the weights are
standard? Exactly as standard, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's nice and balanced to begin with. Hosels on the standard setting as well.
And would you set up as you would normally to a driver, or would you put it a little further back as you would with a 3-wood?
Especially because we're starting this obviously off a tee, I would play it forward of centre.
Okay.
I suppose driver, some people play it off the front toe or inside left heel.
Yeah.
I would kind of play this exactly the same respect.
All right.
So I know the tee's not quite as high, but you still certainly want to have an angle of attack similar to what you would with a driver here.
Okay.
But yeah, just give it a go. See what you think.
Well, it's not left.
Yeah, it's actually gone. Not a bad first hit, that, you know. Still, you can see, I mean, you're in a mid-spin shaft here, so I know we can do more on the shaft front in regards to getting the launch. But I mean, first hit, I mean, to be honest, it doesn't look too dissimilar to the yardages that you've had with a driver.
No.
So...
Is that's carry, isn't it?
That's all carry on that left-hand side, exactly. It's quite a nice shaft, this Denali Blue, actually. I know it's mid-spin, but I always think the tip section to me is quite soft. So I think with obviously this quite compact head, it does work quite well.
That felt slicey. Shows what I know.
So obviously first 2 hits. Obviously I haven't done anything in adjustment as yet. We can always see the consistency of it. I mean, it's not obviously where you'd want to be, but I always think...
No, but for distance,
it's
I'd
good.
take that, wouldn't I?
Good distance. I think also as well, from a fitter's perspective, trying to move this that's nice and tight in dispersion over here is a much easier job than when you've got balls doing this, because you're going to have to pick a certain area, but now you've actually got repetition already in the first 2 hits, and you've got to think this is something that's brand new to you. You feel what I mean? It's the first time it's in your hand, and to have that consistency already is really good. We just need to optimise it. That's the next step. I mean, it's making the driver look a bit... That was only 3 yards short, the driver there. I mean, you'll see on the optimise here, there's going to be a little bit of work for us to do to get the most out of this. Obviously, we could do with a little bit more launch and spin. We know that's the case for the driver. But equally, you know what I mean, when you look actually again at the... And this is the thing I was thinking when you look at getting a club that suits your game. I mean, at this moment in time, it's actually not looking that dissimilar to a driver. If you know what I mean, like you've got more club speed with this despite the shaft being shorter.
Yeah.
Spin rate's actually not far apart. But the interesting thing, it's not necessarily how good your good shot is, it's how often you play that good shot. So like for me, driver, if you know what I mean, yes, we know it's a little bit low and left, but which kind of created more deviation between the data. But here, there's only, if you know what I mean, with half, it gone from 11 in carry to 5. So this is a lot more repeatable. And I do think that's one of the big strengths of the secret weapon, is that its intention isn't really for it to be a driver, it's to be a more consistent option than the driver.
It's interesting that the smash factor, which obviously should be 1.5, is there or thereabouts.
To be fair, that's quite remarkable, because this is brand new in your hand. Normally that's the bit that takes a bit of time to...
People have called me many things before, but remarkable's not been one of them.
But it's... But yeah, normally when you put a new club in your hand, it feels a bit alien to begin with, but you've just taken that to like duck to water, basically. And the thing is as well, I think the reason the club speed's up is you see this first swing was 85, which is pretty much where you was at.
Yeah.
But when you hit something straight and it starts getting confidence, you will naturally pick this side up. It's about having something in your hand that you're confident with and comfortable with.
So 2 of those, the second 2 of those club head speed numbers are actually higher than the average that I got with my own driver.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Interesting.
So there's, and I think it's just having something that you're confident with in your hand. Because the last thing you want is when you don't trust a bit of equipment in your hand, you start steering it, and I mean, people on golf courses slow things down there. You don't want that. You want to hit things with confidence and with a bit of venom, really. That's how you're going to really optimise and make the game ultimately easier. Like, you don't want to be steering stuff in the fairway that's, giving you a long club in. You want to be up there and give yourself a chance, really. But yeah, interestingly as well, obviously you've missed everything right so far, and the left shot was the problem. You were 30 feet left with the driver. The moment you're 30 feet right, and I don't know if that's because you're trying to accommodate.
No, I'm not. I'm just hitting it.
It's just how it's kind of fallen. But yeah, we can certainly do a little bit more with this. But it's been a good start. Consistency's certainly there. We just need to try and move that, if you know what I mean, back online, really.
Yeah.
Let me, before I tweak it, I want to give you a slightly different shaft option here. Let's give you a little bit of a high launch shaft. So this is going to be exactly the same length. It will be a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
And obviously it will be a little bit higher launching. I actually didn't mind how that shaft kind of performed. I think we could potentially get that to work through adjusting this, but I'd rather go down this route first, especially with the lightness that this shaft offers, because obviously the lighter the shaft is, the more opportunity for an increase in club speed you'll get. So I'm always an advocate for getting to the lightest shaft spec I can do. There's always a limitation to that whereby you lose stability at some stage. So I want to test this first, make sure that we can get the high launch if possible, but also for you to feel a slightly lighter shaft option.
But I guess, given that I've not got the fastest club head speed in the world, then you're not going to lose that much stability with it being a light shaft?
Light shaft, yeah, exactly that, yeah. I think there's always a limitation when things get so light that you do lose control. Yeah. It's always about getting that balance right. But yeah, I think certainly it's a matter of sort of trying these things as well, because it's all about matching your tempo and how you load the shaft as well. Not a bad hit. How would that feel?
I don't really know. I don't know. I'll have to hit another and tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you won't want it back.
No. That felt very slicey.
Swiped across it a little bit.
Yeah, I did. Which is me, not the club, if I'm honest. That felt a better strike. That felt nice.
Looked a good start line, did that.
Oh.
Got your little left one creeping. Which is interesting because, like I mentioned, this sort of slightly lighter shaft. See dispersion's a bit
It's gone nowhere, has it?
So, like, light shaft's great, you generate more speed, but if you start doing this, because you don't have the control and stability in the shaft, it becomes a bit of a pointless task.
And it doesn't give you anything to work with either, does it?
Exactly. Well, I know straight away with the gnarly shaft, with this one, we can tweak the club head and we can alter things on the hosel to bring this back in line. The only reason I'd really go to lighter option is if we can see this, but obviously further on, get more out of it. But sometimes when you lose the stability in the shaft, you actually lose the strike as well. And that's maybe what is occurring. We'll hit just one more with it. And then this is the point where you pipe on 250 yards and you're like, what do we do now? Yeah.
Oh, that's an awful swing.
It's one of those that you can see that, I mean, as much as it's obviously not the shot you want, you can see the forgiveness that if you don't quite catch it. I mean, again, fan back to here, it's still got to a similar distance to what the previous ones did. So you don't have to absolutely button this club.
No.
It's still going to be a pretty forgiving option for you. But yeah, let me pop the other shaft back in and have a little play on the setup for you. Back into the Denali Blue, but I've just changed the hosel, so I've just lofted it up, just to even help you with that little bit of launch. Also, some of them shots were down the right-hand side, so as we had loft, it'll actually...
Does it close it?
Exactly, it'll close it a little bit for you as well. It's always been the question, is it going to close it too much? So what I've done with this to begin with, I've obviously done it on its biggest jumps. It's on the big plus here. So it's immersed lofted up. If we start getting that left one creep, I can put it on the little plus where there's a little bit more loft to it. But obviously it's not going to close the face down as much. So we can peel this back a little bit.
Nearly missed. It's good job you didn't have a camera there, isn't it?
You've definitely launched it. What I'm going to do is pass it back here. I'm going to put it on a little plus because I think the thing is for you, when you actually get the most out of these is all obviously due to launch, but you're not going to get the launch when you get that closure in the face. So I'm going to achieve the launch by more so moving the weight back in the club head and create it through that avenue. So it's going to be a little bit of both this in the end. Let's just put it on a little plus. And let's see if we can get this squared off and a bit more down the target line. And then we can, play around with that sort of weight in the back of the head.
Okay. Is that all right there?
Yeah, this is absolutely fine, yeah. Let me just move this on to... So yes, this will present itself a little bit squarer to the ball for you. Trying to get back into that groove that you had before. Looks a little better, that one. There we go, look, now we're talking a bit. Back up to that yardage, look, straight away.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'll just take a couple more and then I'll start playing with the weight, get the centre of gravity in the back of that club head and giving you that launch just in a different way really.
Okay.
Straighter there.
Yeah.
You can see even that tweak before, I know went to the, we put it on the big plus, but actually that was way too much. Peeling that back, you sometimes think you're making bad swings, but actually it could just be like the setup was a bit incorrect on there. You can see here, back down the middle. So let me play around with the weight for you. Played around with the weights, obviously try and help you get this launch up. Yep. I've increased the back weight and reduce the front weight. So we're kind of shifting all the weight into the back club head, just getting you to get a little bit more launch on the ball. Obviously setting on the hosel is exactly the same, and obviously keeping the shaft and everything the same as well.
That felt better.
Tiny bit of left in there, tiny bit of left. We say that's your typical sort of shot shape anyway though.
Yeah.
Like that. I think for me, it's got its place. Obviously you want a consistent shape to hit.
Yeah.
But equally, we just don't want it getting too much. I think some of the ones you hit, I mean, that still obviously carried 177 yards, so it's probably one of those where it's turned over a little bit, and you'll still be quite happy with the shot that you've hit, but any less than that, and it'll become a bit problematic, really.
Yeah. Felt like it goes right. Not terribly though.
No. I think the dispersion's been pretty good. Better though. I think the thing is when I'm looking at this on here is obviously down the right fairly consistent. We've now made some adjustments whereby you're getting it a little bit straight down the middle. We could do with just obviously rebuilding this strike back up and getting that distance where this blue one's falling. We're kind of a little bit in between here at the moment.
Yeah.
But we have made a few little changes. I would say though this probably does really represent quite well what the secret weapon should be doing. So on average, compared to a 3-wood, it is 9.7 yards longer in carry than a 3-wood. So it's actually longer than a 3-wood. It will get close to a driver. But I think one of the main purposes of it is to do what the driver isn't doing here. You can see dispersion nipped in, and granted it might be a little bit shorter, but it's going to be in play all the time. That's the main thing here. And you'll probably admit yourself you've not caught everything as you would wish to, but you haven't actually missed a fairway yet. So it kind of gives you that more reliable option. And the fact you don't carry through it in the bag anyway, it's going to knock it past the 5-wood or hybrids. So it's that good in-between one really.
Or even stick it as far right as you possibly can.
Oh no! Though, you know. That's what I actually quite like to see, because like everything in the driver was low launching, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This one, you're actually on the higher end of things. And I think from what you're needing in the bag is that higher launching, more stable option in the bag. I think it would pop in you on a slightly higher tee really, because you've hit it quite central. What we could do with being obviously above this dotted line, because that will obviously help you launch. Just trying to think, has it all been quite? No, so it's not been too bad. Your strikes actually, to be fair, since we've made the adjustments on head and things, have actually got a lot better. I know that a tiny bit toey here, but that is where you're going to maximise distance out of it. You don't want the necky ones that some of these a bit early wear starting to creep into. But yeah, I mean, hitting it pretty well, pretty consistently here. Let me think what I've got that's just going to pop up a little bit. Let's get it over. Let's sit up a little bit more, a tiny bit more, yeah. Just want to see one. Because it should be hit obviously like a driver. What I'm intrigued to see is if the top of the face is going to create that dippy one, or if it's actually going to do that one.
That felt awful.
Just hit one more for us. No. But to be honest, that one there, I'd rather see more of that.
Yeah.
Because the left one's killing you. Like that one there, yeah, it's lost 5-6 yards of distance, but that's going to play a lot more than the pulley left one. That looked good.
It was.
Great shot that.
Caught it off the heel as well.
Definitely setting off, and maybe set off a little bit left there, but it's definitely better on your launch with that sort of tee.
Yeah, much.
You get into that 180 carry a lot easier out of here. There's nothing wrong with the shape though, like it's not moving that much. Yeah. It's just starting it on that right side, isn't it? That looked better as it turned. Yeah, it's perfect, that look. Let's go for it. Surprisingly, it's all the little tweaks and thingies that actually get you in a... I mean, tee height, people never mentioned it, do they? But it is important to get... Look pretty good. To be fair, it's not a far off driver, is it? No. What I've been hitting, it's closer than I thought it was going to be.
I'd be interested to see the total distances for some of them.
That was straight there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. It's a nice little draw. Look good again. Come on then. Consistency though, isn't there?
Yeah.
You got to think as well, we've got a shaft that's, well, at least an inch shorter here as well.
Yeah.
That might be right. No.
It's not.
Right down the middle.
Oh.
Look at that, Dave.
I was only joking, when I said, is it too? Yeah, I suppose overview, Dave. So obviously driver, we kind of knew there's problems with the short left one.
Yep.
You can see the dispersion, it's quite broad in the driver. And when it was good, obviously the driver was really good. It just wasn't good often enough. While when we put into the secret weapon, I suppose what we've seen is, yes, it's not as long as a driver would be, but it's longer more consistently.
Yes.
So we've obviously started down here. We've seen straight away really good dispersion, but down the right-hand side. We've then obviously played around with the weights in the head a little bit. We've given you a little bit more launch and spin. We've also put a bit of weight in the toe to try and stabilise it and not kind of have that face shutting down like these ones in the driver. And ultimately brought this back online. So now you've got this more consistent shot shape, a bit more reliable option in the bag. Is kind of how it falls. Probably a little bit longer than we anticipated it would be compared to obviously a 3-wood. I know it's not something you've carried in the bag for a while, but this is certainly something you can kind of rely upon and almost replace a driver here, to be fair. Obviously, we go on the sort of bird's eye view on the bottom here, Dave.
Yeah.
You can obviously see the tee shot wise. You've had some good shots here, relatively straight, but you've got obviously 3 of these, which is, to be honest, pretty much half of the shots that we hit that were going left of target. As we've gone into obviously the secret weapon that's got a little bit more spin and a little bit more launch to it as well. You can see we still have this nice little draw shape that you like to play with, but it's just a lot tighter. A little bit of curvature I don't mind whatsoever. I mean, this is only sort of 5 yards left of target, this first dotted line. So they're certainly down the middle of the fairway. So we haven't necessarily changed the whole ball flight. We've just made it much tighter and much more consistent.
So the maximum that's gone left is about 10 yards?
Yeah.
Which I would happily take all day long.